And tonight I'm going to talk to you about something that's very passionate to me, which is called breaking the cycle. And to me, breaking the cycle is going to talk about what I went through, not only watching my parents go through divorce, but what I went through as a divorced child as well, but also being a dad. Okay? Now, when Dan called me, he said, "This isn't any women bashing." I go, no, that's why I'm in therapy, Dan. And I do have a great therapist. 1 million children are affected each and every year by divorce, okay? 50% of all divorces that are finalized, done, signed, sealed, end up back in the courts because of the children. One more statistic, 75% of all children of divorce end up getting divorced themselves. That's the lovely lady that raised me. That's my mom. This is on a trip to South Carolina this past summer. And I bring this up because, like our doctor this morning, where his very first slide, coincidentally, was about his mom, great minds must be thinking alike, because here we go, here's my mom. My mom was both my mom and dad, obviously. And we're going to talk more about that. And a couple months ago at the monthly meeting, we were talking about if it's okay if somebody went up to you as a guy and said you throw like a girl. Well, you remember that? The lady behind me is the one who taught me how to play catch. The lady behind me is the one who taught me how to tie my ties. But we're not, unfortunately, like our speaker this morning said, we're not talking about our moms. But a quick story. I was playing softball. I was a catcher, and we were playing 12-inch. And I was throwing the ball back to our pitcher. The umpire taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, catcher." I go, "Yeah, ump." He goes, "You throw like a girl." I said, "Thanks. My mom taught me." We're going to talk baseball again. Don't worry. When I was 5 years old, we were living in Chicago. And we lived on the third floor story of this apartment building. And it was pretty cool. It was an older building. We were just near Lake Michigan. We had this beautiful courtyard. And in our house, we had this flat radiator. And on this radiator, I could sit, look out in the courtyard. On this particular day, I look outside, and there's my dad. And my dad was one of those guys back then. He was a salesman. He was a sharp dresser. Well, as he was walking out, I kind of noticed he was in his London Fog jacket, looking all prim and proper, and carrying a suitcase. It was very odd because my dad was not a traveling salesman. What was going on? Well, he must have had some kind of sixth sense because he turned around and waved to me. Well, at that particular moment, I happened to hear my mom crying in their bedroom. And I ran into their bedroom to see my mom on her knees. And it was that kind of crying, just that painful look. And at that moment, I was wondering, is this the last time I'm seeing my dad? What is going on? Well, as you can tell, my parents were getting divorced. When my parents got divorced, ironically or kind of strangely, my mom didn't want to raise me in Chicago. She didn't want to raise me in the city. She wanted me out in the suburbs where my grandparents were, where my cousins were. Well, I don't know if it was a leap of faith or what, but one of our neighbors was smoking one night and set the building on fire. So we're moving. So we moved to the suburbs of Chicago, and it was great because I was with my grandparents, who were the ones who primarily raised me. My mom worked 2 jobs for us. Well, as you all know, that if you go through a divorce, you got to have interactions with your dad. You got to visit him. So some of the things that I don't remember are a lot of positive, happy memories visiting my dad. There are some, okay? Don't get me wrong. But this is why I'm telling you about breaking the cycle, because I watched firsthand what not to do. And I hope through my story tonight, you'll understand what breaking the cycle meant to me, about change, my own change.